I'm Kevin Cirilli, Chief Washington Correspondent for Bloomberg Television and Bloomberg Radio. We're here with Senator Marsha Blackburn, a Republican from Tennessee. She's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Big hearing the other day on 5G. What came out of it?
What came out of it was that there is bipartisan concern about how we advance with 5G, what the Chinese are doing, Huawei and their participation in this. So what you heard was that people want to really focus on this. Another thing, Kevin, that was very important in the hearing was agreement, again, bipartisan, that we need a national strategy, but we do not need or want to federalize the 5G network.
You know, I find this fascinating. You mentioned specifically Huawei. I want to unpack it just a little bit. The administration has really put an emphasis on developing 5G technology as a whole, led, of course, by Chairman Pai. But how do you strike that balance from not allowing some Chinese state-run telecom companies from impacting U.S. national security interests?
What we know is that Huawei embeds spyware and malware into their hardware. This is something that everyone knows. And we know that while Huawei may be enticing certain entities to buy their equipment by underpricing it for that entry, one of the long-term costs are going to be very expensive because the way the Chinese will then pull information and spy on you through that network. And this came up in the hearing that we did recently, where you had someone from Homeland Security, our witness there who runs the cyber division, talking about the long-term cost of using Huawei equipment in your network.
President Trump, according to my colleague Margaret Talev at Bloomberg, she's reporting that President Trump plans in the coming days to sign an executive order that would prohibit American firms from using gear made by foreign telecommunication companies that pose a security threat. Good move?
Good move. It is the right move. And right now, as we're looking at what we need to do to recoup spectrum, repackage spectrum, especially this mid-band spectrum that is going to be so important to expansion of a durable, sustainable 5G network, this is the right thing to go ahead and say, do not use Huawei equipment. To our allies, do not use Huawei equipment because they are going to use that to spy on you, and in the long run, this is going to be the most expensive equipment you would ever buy.
I was struck by how this is such a nonpartisan issue on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm also struck by the backdrop to all of this, U.S.-China trade talks.
Yeah.
And this is the one area that I think even Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer would agree with President Trump. But when you talk about tariffs, when you talk about agricultural, I know these issues are crucial to your state. What would you like to see happen, not moving away from the cyber issue for a second, but in the broader conversation of U.S.-China trade talks?
In the broader conversation, we would hope that the Chinese realize that they are a very creative people and very resourceful, and they can compete without stealing our technology, our intellectual property. They can compete without embedding spyware and malware into their hardware. And what they need to do is compete and abide by the rules that every other market economy uses and abides by. I think that would be great. And on tariffs have an adverse effect. I really look at tariffs as taxes. And when it comes, we've been working this week on issues with wire products and with charcoal grills and some of the soybean issues, chemicals that are exported from Eastman Chemical, polysilicon from Wacker. We are dealing with all of these issues this week, and the tariffs are not helpful.
No, it's grill season. Maybe you should have the president over to grill, and you can talk about tariffs. Final question. I know immigration's also heating up this week. What can you tell us on the latest on that front?
We are going to have a press conference at 10 o'clock this morning. Chairman Graham is going to roll out changes to the asylum laws. These are things that are not a Republican or a Democrat agenda. These are what the Border Patrol and ICE are telling us. These are the changes they're saying. You have to do this in order to give us the tools we need to protect this country.
And please speak. Please Week, National Law Enforcement Week, right? It's a huge week.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And here is the thing, Kevin. Every town's a border town, every state's a border state until we secure that southern border because of the impact of drugs in our communities, of human trafficking, sex trafficking, gangs that now are spread all across the country. And our law enforcement is saying we all have border town issues. Secure this border.